Review copy provided by PlayStation.
You're gonna tell us where she went.
When Isaac talks to us about this...
I'm getting tired of this.
Nora. Nora! I'm not going down for her, man.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brandon Jones. I got Michael Huber over here.
Hello!
Who I'm just insanely jealous of right now. Even though you gotta be exhausted, man, because you are just slugging your way.
Pretty tired.
Through The Last of Us Part 2.
Yes.
And if you were like me, you just recently watched new gameplay footage of Last of Us Part 2. And when that direct first got announced to you, I was like nervous. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm already sold on this. I don't know if I need like more gameplay. And then I didn't even see the last story trailer. I still to this day have not seen that like last story trailer that they released. And just like a couple minutes into this direct, watching this gameplay again, I was like, oh right, this is I remember why I'm so damn excited about this game. And they talked about some story elements in that direct. They replayed a lot of trailers and gameplay that they had shown previously, but there was this big meaty chunk at the end that you have obviously played because you are playing the game. But specifically, we can talk about that segment now.
Yeah,
we can give an official B-roll from Sony. Review copy provided by PlayStation. Thank you, Sony.
Yes. And for the viewers at home, do not be concerned because we are not really talking about story at all. Only the premise of this section, which has already been revealed, which is when Ellie is going to the hospital. So looking for someone and on a mission. So I can talk about everything in between from that point on. What do you want to know, Jones? What do you want to talk about, man?
I mean, honestly, just in terms of being impressed, Huber, like the main thing that blew me away was dodging. Was like this one encounter that she has, and I don't know if this was in that particular section, but there was like one moment in this gameplay video where they showed Ellie, and it seemed like this really kind of tense back and forth with the characters, lots of shoving and swinging and dodging, and it wasn't just this really kind of one specific direction. I'm just gonna dodge straight backwards, but just like to the left or the right, and obviously, I can't remember how much melee was a factor in the original Last of Us. Like I remember, I just remember like really trying to save ammunition and really just like avoiding enemies as much as I could. Where just kind of like machete versus machete, it just seems like so intense. So those were the moments that I was really paying attention to, like when a quote-unquote cutscene would end and we would move from a transition into a new environment, and then you would see the player take control, and then for the purposes of the demo we would go in one particular direction, and I was always trying to think, okay, well, what if I just didn't? What if I just let that patrol head over to the left and I completely went off in a different direction? Were you thinking of that a lot when you're playing the game, and this one section in particular?
Yes, Jones. So it is very, very familiar to the first game. So players that love the combat and the stealth and just kind of the overall combat flow of The Last of Us Part 1, it's going to feel so familiar. You did mention the dodge, Jones, which is a big addition to these melee combat encounters. And I really like it. The only somewhat slightly concerning thing for some of the combat is it's still pretty easy to exploit some of the AI characters, some of these enemies. You can still kind of sneak up into their dead eye zone and kind of grab them and stealth attack them. So you really kind of have your way with a lot of these characters, and I've cranked the difficulty up to Survivor, and it does make it a little harder. They're a little more aware of you, like they're, if they see you, you have a little less time to react. Yeah, a little bit of the tension slightly is gone. That's the only semi-concerning thing we're going to talk about, is just kind of because Jones, it's kind of the Nolan effect, right? Because everything is so grounded and realistic. Everything is so lifelike. It is amazing how good these environments look and how fun they are to go off the beaten path, to explore, to kind of figure out these environments too. There's a lot of locked doors, and you need to find ways inside rooms, and just scavenging in general. I just think there's a little too much supplies. Like I had a lot of like ammunition in this section, a lot of ways to deal with the enemies, which is cool. But yeah, a little bit of the tension is gone. Maybe that's just because like it's a sequel, so you have more tools. But I think one of the main reasons is you can't turn listen mode off now. In the original, you could turn it off, and on higher difficulties like Survivor, it would just remove it entirely. But for whatever reason, you cannot turn it off, and even on Survivor, it still remains. You can obviously ignore it and not use it, but the fact that it's still there kind of removes a little bit of the tension.
Well, one thing that they showcased specifically in this demo is a lot of like on-the-fly usage. So like Ellie would get a supply and then realize, okay, wait, I can turn this bat into this thing to just use it, or now I finally have the tools to have a Molotov cocktail. Okay, I'm going to use that really quickly.
Yeah.
And I remember there were a lot of times in the original Last of Us because like I'm just such a resource hog in like any survival horror thing.
Me
like,
too.
I'm just gonna make sure I have everything. And
Me
so there were a lot of
too.
times where I would walk over a brick and I'm stacked, and so like the brick would be X'd out because it's like you don't have any more room for this stuff.
Yes.
And so I would think like, well, should I throw the thing I have now to grab this because I might need it later and not
Leave
have
nothing
access to
behind,
it?
Jones.
Right. Yeah, is there and there were actually some moments in the gameplay demo where you just like walk right past an item and you're like, what are you doing? The duct tape.
Yeah. So I just feel like I was a little too equipped, maybe. That's the only thing. But
Yeah.
And that's a me issue because I love tension, Jones, and I love the survival aspect. I love those, just like playing the original Ungrounded, and Survivor, just like every moment is so tense. But this, I was a little more capable. I had a little more ammo, a little more just able to take enemies out, and because of the long grass and stuff, like stealthing through. So I want to talk about some of these factions. So first up, obviously in this part, you take on some clickers and some infected. You've done it before. It's just as good as it always has been. Just freaky encounters, like this really cool part where you may have to make some noise to get some supplies, and by making the noise, you're going to alert the infected. So there's kind of that give and pull of like risk and reward. Do I go for the supplies or, like you were saying, Jones, there's a lot of parts where you can just bypass these enemies. You really don't have to take out every enemy. Yeah. You can use the grass, you can throw bottles and bricks and distract them. And it's just, the stealth is so incredible. And the environment, it's just so incredible because everything is so, I know I keep using this word, but it's just so realistic. Nothing ever feels staged. There's usually multiple ways to go through areas, multiple ways to deal with enemies, multiple ways to just get out of situations. There's just so much freedom, and everything is so real and natural. You're never taken out of it.
Yeah, you talked about, and I think I've encountered this almost in every single stealth game I've ever played, where it's just like that guy didn't know I was there. Come on,
yeah,
what,
that stuff is still there, and it's just heightened because the game is so good.
Yeah, but what I've noticed in this is it's less about any one particular interaction when you go into an area. It's really how long can I maintain them not knowing that I'm here, and when that when that eventually does happen, when someone, wait a minute, when they find a body or something and like there's someone here, it seems like that's just like a whole different level of tension. Whereas like a lot of the situations I remember from the original Last of Us seemed kind of more shootout oriented. It's like you're either in trouble when you start this, or you're going to be on a gun emplacement and you're going to, be managing the weapon that way. Whereas in this, it really seemed like these AI characters are really monitoring each other and really keeping on top of what, where patrols are, and their reactions are really honest when they encounter stuff. Do you feel that, just kind of that intensity when you get discovered? And
Absolutely. Absolutely, Jones. I might have sounded a little harsh just because, again, like, you notice it's that you notice the little weird video game things they do when everything looks and feels so real.
Well, you're not scaring me at all because I want complete dominance in this game. Like, you talk about being over prepared. It's like, I'm just, let's do it. Like, that's not, it doesn't scare me. That's not, gonna slow me down.
So this next faction, Jones, after the clickers and the runners there, you see this faction. Again, I'm dancing around. I'm allowed to talk about it, but I'd rather not. I would just rather be a little ambiguous.
Sure.
There's a faction that favors bow and arrows, and Jones, the sickest thing ever, dude. They communicate by whistling. So like they'll come up to a corpse and just be like. And then like you'll hear another whistle off in the distance. Guys have torches. They're looking down. You can just crawl, and then like you'll get up and you'll run to an area, but then someone will turn and you'll dive under just like this truck and you crawl through. Like the stealth is it's so good. It's so good. So I just love the stealth and like the brutal kills, right? Like you were saying, do you feel that they know each other and yeah, they'll say John is dead over here, like fan out, and I just love that. That's so cool.
We all cringed when this like dog got taken out with the Molotov. Is there any sort of reservation dealing with puppers, chasing you down, or are you just like sorry?
Always reserved. Yeah. It's like I don't want to do this.
Sorry, Sophie. This is the apocalypse.
Yeah, and then after you see kind of the bow and arrow faction, then you get to the hospital, which is a lot of what you had already seen, and just the way that can go is mind-blowing. Like there's so much detail everywhere. Let me circle back really quick and then we'll come back to this. There's so much detail when you explore that you're just going to miss everything because there's too much to look at. So when you go into a building to just explore it, there's like there's so much detail and if it's hard to just like not stop and stare at everything because everything looks so good. So
to counter that, Huber, like I am seeing sentiments from a lot of people who are just like tall grass, concrete buildings, apocalypse. It's just the same gray, black, brown. Like I've seen this before.
So I mean, just in this section alone, though, you go through so many different buildings, and inside each of these. Yeah, of course you're going to see, the same coffee maker, probably like copy and pasted a couple places, but like by and large, how different and how detailed each one of these environments is staggering.
And some of the environmental storytelling were like the deepest cuts in the first Last of Us. We were just like, where you realize like you finally understood like what happened here. Like, oh no.
Yeah.
It's much more impactful than any cutscene or anything that happened to any living character. It's just kind of like sensing the past and just like what had gone on.
So then this last little action area, Jones, there are just guards everywhere. You're breaking into the hospital. And again, I bring up freedom because there are so many ways that you can get through this section. You can be a ghost and stealth your way through, or you can just like in the first game, like so many things can go down. You can stealth a guy, and then a guy on a guard tower will see you. He starts sniping down. Or one time I just took him out with a bow, and then the other guy was like, "Huh? Where is he? Where'd he go?" Like they notice kind of when their guards aren't responding or they're not seen in that area. Huge shout out to the way glass shatters in this game.
They focused on that, in the video.
Just smashing it is satisfying, but then also throw a bottle at someone's face. There's glass in their face. Put a bomb near an area and it blew up. And the glass, this glass shattered, and then this person ran at me to come in for the melee kill, and their face was like covered in glass. That's so cool.
That was one thing I noticed, though, that I can't remember if I honestly had used it that much, because I remember there just being like a really simple stun versus finishing move attack, where it's like there seemed to be like a lot of different variables around, like, well, if I can't just openly attack you or stealth you, like, let me just grab this thing and hit you with it, or let me just shoot you in the kneecap, and then I can get that extra 2-3 feet to come in and get the attack. Like, has that evolved in any way, or does it seem the kind of same old tricks from the last game?
The way they flank you is I really like it. I really, really like the way they flank you. You cannot really hunker down, which really encourages movement, which is so great because, if you kill someone and then you kind of just wait, like you have kind of a lot of ammo. I did at least. So I would hunker down and be like, well, come at me. Yeah. I've got, shotgun ready to go. Anyone who comes at me. And they play it pretty smart. They'll try to come around you. They'll be in the distance and taking pot shots. Just when I have someone in the distance lined up, someone from the side will get me. So it's really solid. And a special shout out to survivor mode, because one of the biggest things is when the enemies walk, so they'll be on their patrol, and they're on their patrol, and they'll kind of just do one of these. And like on Survivor, that is more pronounced. They'll turn a little more. You can't really grab them from the front, which can get you out of a lot of jams. If you they see you, but you grab them in the front and you kill them really quick, like you're still stealth. But like taking just that away kind of adds to the tension and difficulty. So, just really cool.
There are lots of human shield action in your playthrough.
Yes,
because they focus on that. Yeah, that's something that you've used. You see value in that?
I do, but I'm such a fan. Like, I guess I'm just so patient, Jones. Like, your patience will be rewarded.
Oh, sure, yeah. I will. You talk about those shotgun shells. Like, I'm ready to spend these. I'm never, ever, ever ready to spend those. I'm always like, wait, no. There's got to be some other alternative.
Yeah. So just a lot of the crouching and crawling through grass. If you just are a fan of stealth in general, it's so addicting. It's so fun trying to sneak past just otherwise like really intense shootouts, It's like, wow, I can just bypass this.
I gotta wonder, just again, you don't have to focus on anything in terms of relating to story, not even just in this one section, but obviously the game at large. But like, there's different protagonists this time around. Like you're playing as Joel, during the first game, primarily, and he was definitely just kind of a cold-blooded, it's just doing what needed to be done. Whereas what they have set up in this last video is definitely is like a revenge trip, for Ellie. Was that kind of its own thing emotionally going into this game? I mean, like story beats aside, just like the actual visceral combat, just kind of in terms of how she would react to enemies when she would attack them. Like, did she kind of put her character into it, or
that's
so
funny
like,
you say that.
I gotta keep it on the down low so I don't get spotted.
10 out of 10 question, Jones, because every single time I say something in my brain, what feels like, Ellie says it.
That happened to me like 2
or 3
times.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
Yes. We're all seriously in my brain say, shit. Half a second later, shit. It's so good. Just super cool details.
It goes a long way. Yeah, that stuff. Another reason to take your time is I'm going to be, soaking up all of these conversations that they're having, before they know I'm there. I loved in the first game when I would do something in one scene and then move on to another scene, and then they'd be like, "Did you hear? We lost that whole crew over there." And it's like, "From who?" It's like, "I don't know. There might have been a team of people. We don't know." And it's like, "No, it's just me." And like, I love that stuff. It reminds me of like, the Arkham games where you just hear like, not worried about Batman. It's like, that's exactly the moment where it just comes like swinging down. So yeah, even just the reactions from people when you grab them and hearing people, like you were saying, coordinate in different ways. That stuff is so fascinating to me. How are you doing on like replaying sections? That was a big thing for me. Even if I got through something successfully, I was like, one more time. Let me try. I spent a little too many pistol rounds on that one. I think I can do it better.
Once in a while I'll like restart the encounter, but like Dishonored, I love the idea of the game Dishonored. I love the idea of going stealth, but when you get caught, shit just goes down and you got to kind of shoot your way out and figure it out. So I kind of like when things don't go according to plan. And then the higher difficulties too, they reduce checkpoints. They reduce how many combat checkpoints there are.
Okay.
So, if you kill a bunch of guys and you finally get caught, maybe your checkpoint is like 10 minutes back. Do you really want to do it, or do you just want to soldier on?
Right.
And then I didn't really go into the dodge much. Wanted to talk about the dodge a little bit. Again, the higher the difficulties, the more erratic. When you get into a melee encounter, you can take quite a bit of hits. So it's easy to kind of fall back to that and rely on that. Rely on melee encounters to save your ammo, to save that stuff, because with the dodging and with just kind of the amount of damage you could soak up, it felt pretty powerful. So I like when they're a little more erratic with the dodging. And obviously that factors into, well, how many enemies are there? One-on-one, obviously I have a lot more time to kind of dodge and figure that out versus if I'm getting flanked. But
was this a good gameplay chunk to show off this one specific area?
Oh, absolutely.
Can you kind of, from looking at the game at large, can you kind of get a sense of like, oh yeah, I think that was a good spot to show? How was the performance of this preview based on your performance, Huber?
Them showing it?
Just their skills exhibited in the actual gameplay.
Oh.
Compared. When you were watching it, were you like...
No, like same. And then also too, when the bow and arrow people shoot with the bow, it'll get stuck in you, and you have to take it out. But like that'll take some time. So if the enemies are coming at you strong, like you can't take it off. Also, really cool. I really appreciate when you charge directly at an enemy. This is great. When you charge at them, like they're gonna take you down, and I do love that. They just have you dead to rights. Like they'll just
there's one moment in the B-roll that they showed where there's a guy with the rifle who stalls just a little bit. He's got a shot like right on her, and he doesn't take it, and she's able to get close. And I think it's like the only like real legit melee attack she does with that like 2x4 with that like modded 2x4.
You have your.
I mean, it's a satisfying hit, but just in that moment, I was like, "Oh, you had her! Come on!" I mean, it's not a shotgun. It's like a rifle. It's something that would be a little difficult at close range. But I'm just I've pored over that gameplay, man. I'm just like super focused on it, and it was. I mean, this game was just on my list. I knew I was gonna play it, and then I'm watching this gameplay, being like, "Oh God!" I've just like reminded. It's just making the next 2 to 3 weeks that much more difficult to get through.
And of course, you get the bricks and the bottles and the melees. You can upgrade your melee weapon on the fly, and they're really cool. There's a lot of melee weapons kind of just like scattered around. They had like a baseball bat, a wooden plank.
Did you sneak past people a lot? Were there a lot of scenarios? Again, trying to talk about like too much else, but like were there, because they talked about in that gameplay demo, they were like, there's some stuff you might want to skip, and like that'll honestly be hard for me because I am such a resource hog. Like I do want to get that satisfaction of taking stuff out. Clickers for sure, get away from me, clickers. But like humans, like it'll be tough for me not to want to like clear an area.
You're making me nervous, Jones. Don't get me in trouble.
All right.
Only talking about this part, but in relation to this specific.
It seemed like there were parts. Let's talk about this specifically. It seemed like there were parts of this that were unavoidable for her. That was like she should probably take out as many people in this area as possible.
Jones, I'm the same way as you. Like, I'm not leaving any resources behind.
Yeah.
If there is a dangerous area, if there's an area with like people in it, and I know there are supplies there, and there's like the exit and I can go, like I'm going there, taking everyone out, clearing it, finding the documents. Really good, some documents in this section, and like you were saying, environmental storytelling. Just the entire, just the areas. I mean, you just get lost in them. It is hard when there are enemies because you just want to stop and look at everything, and it's like, I gotta crawl, I gotta go, they're coming.
Right.
So.
There's so many more things I want to ask this guy, but we got to keep it specifically geared towards the preview. And, all of us will be playing this game eventually, and of course we'll get our review from Huber eventually.
Of course, this was mainly combat and stealth focused. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because there will be many other opportunities to talk about those other things. And I can't wait, man. I can't wait to talk to you about all these specific events. Anything else you want to leave our viewers with, just in terms of this particular area? Was it weird, like, watching this, having all the trailers, then playing the game, and then going back and watching, this specific demo, this specific cutout?
No. I mean, it's all just The Last of Us to me, just being in this universe. It's like the first one is just one of my favorite games of all time, so... like you, I was on board from the word go. Yeah.
So I don't want to pester you too much. We'll find out more, obviously, when all of us get a chance to check out the game. But thank you, Michael P. Huber, for giving us some more specific details. And thank you very much for watching it. And stay tuned, again, for more continued coverage of The Last of Us Part 2. Good luck, sir.
Yes.
You remember me? Yeah. You remember me.
Review copy provided by PlayStation.